To our dear participants, thank you for being patient with us. We request all of you to please stand by and keep your camera closed and microphone on mute. The program will begin in a short while. To confirm your attendance, kindly fill out the link that is sent in the chat box. Thank you. A pleasure morning to our distinguished participants. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to welcome you for today's webinar entitled Sustainable Agriculture and Soil Microbiome. I am Mia Grace Askiner and I am your host for this webinar. Now, without further ado, may I now request to introduce our first speaker for the day, Ms. Laurie Jean Malahos, a COS graduate from DSSC Diga City. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mamiya. Good day, everyone. I am so happy that I was given a privilege to be one of the speakers on today's webinar. Please bear with us together with my co-speakers, and I hope you'll learn something important on the discussion that we're going to present. So, the first topic would be sustainable agriculture. If you had to choose, which would you prefer to eat? Food that is grown more naturally or food that is enhanced by spraying it with pesticides or applying chemical fertilizers? Most people would prefer the natural food that is free of chemicals and artificial enhancements. Unfortunately, the majority of food we consume is produced using industrialized agriculture, which is a type of agriculture where large quantities of crops and livestock are produced through industrial techniques for the purpose of sale. This type of agriculture relies heavily on a variety of chemicals and artificial enhancements, such as pesticides, fertilizers, and genetically modified organisms. This type of agriculture also uses a large amount of fossil fuels and large machines to manage the farmland. Although industrialized agriculture has made it possible to produce large quantities of food due to the negative aspect of this technique, there has been a shift towards sustainable agriculture. Sustainable agriculture is a style of farming that focuses on producing long-term crops and livestock with minimum environmental impact. This style of agriculture attempts to strike a balance between the requirement for food production and the preservation of the ecological system within the area. Aside from food production, there are numerous overarching aims linked with sustainable agriculture, including as water conservation, reduced fertilizer and pesticide use, and fostering biodiversity in crops, farm, and the ecosystem. Sustainable agriculture also focuses on farm economic stability and assisting farmers in improving their practices and quality of life. Have you heard of the gut microbiome, or do you take probiotics? And did you know that the common antibiotic streptomycin was discovered in soil? The soil is home to the world's greatest biodiversity. That biodiversity includes insects that live in the soil, like ants and nematodes. It includes the world's largest terrestrial organism, or fungi. And it includes bacteria like the Streptomyces family. The combination of bacteria and fungi is known as the soil microbiome. The soil microbiome is the result of a complex interaction between the billions of microbial species that live in soil. The microbiome is contained largely within the top 6 inches of soil, which has many levels or horizons. The topsoil, or the first 6 inches, is known as the A horizon. There are around 50 billion microorganisms and only 1 teaspoon of dirt. These microbes are necessary for healthy soil, although being undetectable to the naked sight. Each bacterium plays an important role in the entire interaction between the microbiome and the plant roots, and they share a symbiotic connection together. The exudates from the plant roots feed the soil microbiome. Sugars, enzymes, and other chemicals are among the organic molecules secreted by the roots. Healthy soil is a rich, living environment with millions of busy microbes competing for available water, food, and space. Sometimes, the microbes eat each other and sometimes they get along just fine. Either way, it's difficult to grow a viable crop without an active population of microscopic soil dwellers. Microbes, consisting primarily of bacteria, fungi, and a few other tiny organisms, are often thought of as invaders that pose a threat to crops, animals, and people. While it's true that some microbes are bad, most are essential elements of a healthy growing environment.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving your valuable insights on sustainable agriculture and why soil microbiome matter. So with that, let us move to our second speaker, Mr. Jervin Anal. He is a CAS graduate from DSSC Dica City. Sir?
5 different types of soil microbes. What are the different types of soil microbes? There are 5 different types of soil microbes. First is bacteria, actinomycetes, fungi, protozoa, and nematodes. Each of these microbe types has different job to boost soil and plant health. First is bacteria. Bacteria is the crucial work phase of soils. They are the final stage of breaking down nutrients and releasing them to the root zone for the plant. In fact, the Food and Agriculture Organizations once said, bacteria may well be the most valuable of life forms in the soil. Where are bacteria? Various species of bacteria thrive on different food sources and in different microenvironments. In general, bacteria are more competitive when labile substrates are present. This includes fresh, young plant residue, and a compound found near living roots. Bacteria are especially concentrated in the rhizosphere, the narrow region next to and in the root. There is evidence that plants produce certain types of root exudates to encourage the growth of protective bacteria. What do bacteria do? Bacteria from all 4 groups perform important services related to water dynamics, nutrient cycling, and disease suppression. Some bacteria affect water movement by producing substances that help bind soil particles into small aggregates. Stable aggregates improve water infiltration in the soil's water-holding ability. In diverse bacterial community, many organisms will compete with disease-causing organisms in root and in above-ground surface of plants. Second is the actinomycetes. Actinomycetes were once classified as fungi and act similarly in the soil. However, some actinomycetes are predators and will harm the plant, while others living in the soil can act as antibiotics for the plants. Actinomycetes are a broad group of bacteria that form thread-like filaments in the soil. The distinctive scent of freshly exposed, moist soil is attributed to these organisms, especially to the nutrients they release as a result of their metabolic process. Actinomycetes form associations with some non-leguminous plant and fix nitrogen, which is then available to both the host and the other plants near vicinity. Of soil actinomycetes to soil. Actinomycetes are soil microorganisms like both bacteria and fungi, and have characteristics linking them to both groups. They have many processes that are beneficial to soil health, including decomposition of cellulose matter, ammonium fixation and synthesis, degradation of humus, disease resistant, and act as biocontrol agent. Third is the fungi. Like bacteria, fungi also lives in the root zone and helps make nutrients available to plants. For example, mycorrhizae is a fungi that facilitate water and nutrient uptake by the roots and plants to provide sugars, amino acids, and other nutrients. Soil fungi can grow in a wide range of soil pH, but their population is more under acidic conditions because of severe competition with bacteria at neutral pH. A majority of fungi are aerobic and prefer to grow at optimum level of soil moisture. Economic advantage of fungi. The saprophytic fungi of decay maintain the never-ending cycle of greenhouse emission that could be the most significant staple for plant chemical processes in nature. They additionally cause rot, decay, and decomposition of animal and plant remains. There are types of fungi that serve to suppress. Also, fungi inflicting the sickness disease of the seedling and thereby influence favorably the expansion of crops. Fourth is the protozoa. Protozoa are larger microbes that love to consume and be surrounded by bacteria. In fact, nutrients that are eaten by bacteria are released when protozoa in turn eat the bacteria. Last is the nematodes. Nematodes are microscopic worms that live around or inside the plant. Some nematodes are predators while others are beneficial, eating pathogenic nematodes and secreting nutrients to the plants.
Thank you, sir. Now let us move on to our third speaker, Mr. Salman Olama. He is a CAS graduate from DSSC Diga City.
Microbiome interaction for sustainable agriculture. What is plant microbiome? The plant microbiome, also known as the plant microbiome, plays an important role in plant health and productivity and has gotten a lot of attention recently. Plant microbiome interaction affect plant growth, fitness, and production. Plant microbiome communities are divided into three categories depending on their habitat: rhizo, philo, and endospheric understanding. The connection between plants and their microbiomes could lead to development of sustainable agricultural solutions. To unlock the great potentials of plant microbiomes in agriculture, researchers must first grasp their complex structural and functional diversity. The plant microbiota is home to massive microbial communities that defy analytical methodologies when it comes to studying and dynamics of plant microbiome interactions. Many beneficial microbial strains have been overlooked in studies based on traditional methods, leaving a significant gap in our understanding of microbial communication and genetic adaptation that favor their association with host plants. There are two types of plant microbiome: the philosphere and the rhizosphere. The philosphere is an important ecological and economic ecosystem that supports a huge and diverse microbial community. The philosphere microbiota protects plants from illness and promotes their growth through a variety of ways. The rhizosphere, which is the volume of soil immediately impacted by root activity, is a hotspot for a wide range of biotic and abiotic activities in soils, while allowing plant development through water and nutrient uptake. Plants communicate with microbes via metabolites released from their roots. It can also absorb some molecules from root exudates while excreting others. Microorganisms have a variety of direct effects on plants, including hormone, signaling manipulation, and pathogen defense. Plants communicate with microbes via metabolites released from their roots. It can also absorb some molecules from root exudates while excreting others. Microorganisms have a variety of direct effects on plants, including hormone, signaling manipulation, and pathogen defense. Plants communicate with microbes via metabolites released from their roots.
Thank you, sir, for giving your valuable insights on plant microbiome interaction to sustainable agriculture. Moving on to our next speaker, he is Mr. Christopher Escaner, a CAS graduate from DSSC Suluk, Davao del Sur.
Microbes for sustainable farming. Soil is a living environment and is made up of an incredibly complex mixture of mineral particles, nutrients, organic matter, water, air, and diverse assortment of living organisms. After decades of farming, we have seen the decline in nutrient availability, fertility, and crop production. To ensure sustainability in agriculture for the years ahead, more focus should be placed on achieving ecological and economic soil regeneration through restoring the nutritional, biological, and structural component of soil fertility. The nutritional and structural aspects are widely understood. However, although improving, it is biological side that is often overlooked and not recognized as sometimes being the limited factor of crop, pasture, or even your livestock not yielding or performing. While worms, beetles, and other insects are more obvious, 80 to 90% of the biological activity in your soil is carried out by diversified array of microorganisms, including bacteria, fungi, and other microbes. Like in the weakest chain, if this aspect of soil fertility is ignored, the whole system of soil management is compromised. The unseen workers, the importance of microbial activity can often be underestimated, and the link within the soil ecosystem is understood. There are many species microorganisms including bacteria, actinomycetes, fungi, and protozoa, and each has their own benefits. Soil organisms are essential for health and economic crop production. Their central role is to convert organic matter derived from decaying plant and animal materials and mineral elements into available forms for plants and other organisms to absorb. Soil microbes operate in the multifaceted manner to assist.
Thank you, Mr. Christopher. Now let us welcome our next speaker, Mr. Junri Turtur, a CAS graduate from DSSC Sulup, Davao del Sur. The floor is yours now, sir.
Soil structure, erosion, and water penetration. The physical activity of worms, insects, and arthropods creates large and small pores in the soil profile. These pores allow air and water to move freely through the soil, giving effective water infiltration as well as drainage. Highlighted in Figure 2, bacteria and fungi excrete polysaccharide mucus-like compounds that bend soil particles together. Many soil fungi possesses roots-like structures known as hypaea, and this stretch-like network of structures help to bend soil particles together to improve stability of structure. Increased nutrients availability. Earthworms and microorganism castings and residual contain increased amounts of plants nutrients. Dr. Will Jackson, USA, has found that when compared the soil devoid of life, soil work by microorganisms and earthworms has shown significant increase in nutrient level, including the following: nitrate increased 500%, available phosphorus 700%, exchangeable potassium 1200%, exchangeable calcium 150%, organic carbon 200%. Many plants form intimate and symbiotic relationships with bacteria and fungi in order to create uptake of specific elements. Obvious examples include rhizodium bacteria, which legume for increased nitrogens, and mycorrhizal fungi, bulb, which release lack of phosphorus and other nutrients from the soil environment. These microbes are naturally occurring in healthy soil.
Thank you, Mr. Junri. Now let us move on to Mr. Franz John Tan, a CAS graduate from DSSC Sulup, Davao del Sur. Sir, good morning.
Neutralizing pH in both alkaline and acid soil. Good levels of humus in your soil provides a reservoir for mineral nutrients and can hold up to 200 kg of nitrogen per hectare. Microbe activity will help to neutralize the pH in both acid and alkaline soil. Under optimum conditions, these microbes can produce their own weight in pH neutral humus every day. Nutrient and moisture holding capacity. As well as being a reservoir for nutrients, humus provides a storehouse for water, helping to growth-proof your farm. Organic carbon is an indication of humus levels, and the higher level, the greater moisture holding capacity in your soil.
Thank you, Mr. Tan. Now let us proceed to our next speaker, Ms. Judy Jean Gayad, a CAS graduate from DSSC Suluk, Davao del Sur. Ma'am?
Did you know that there are an estimated 60,000 different species of bacteria around, numbering in their billions per gram of soil? Microbes also act as a biofertilizer by releasing critical nutrients when they die. Without microbes, plants wouldn't have the constant supply of nutrients they need to grow. Beyond nutrient cycling, microbes produce hormones and other chemicals to stimulate plant growth. So this discussion explores the available information on diversity of beneficial microbes in agricultural ecosystem and synthesizes their commercial uses in agriculture with suppressing and preventing disease. Soils with high levels of organic matter and microbe activity can prevent more aggressive plant disease from taking hold by suppressing and or feeding on the pathogens, and act as biofilters to clean up pollutants in your soil. Long-term productivity. Microorganisms and earthworms produce the most nutritionally charged soils in the world, leading to increased productivity and profitability without the need for additional fertilizer applications and tillage. So these studies on the microbiome and revolutionary production systems like conservation agriculture and protected cultivation, which use lesser agrochemicals, are limited and if exploited can provide valuable input in sustainable agriculture production.
Thank you, Ms. Gayad. Now let us proceed to our next speaker, Ms. Jenna Lynn Tibas, a CAS graduate from DSSC Suluk, Davao del Sur. Ma'am, the floor is yours now.
The depletion of life in the soil, microbe and worm activity. The number, variety of species, and activity of the soil organism will vary depend on the soil environment. Soil organisms thrive in natural and healthy soil, where the biomass of microbes can easily amount to 4 or 5 tons per hectare. Unfortunately, due to cleaning soil fertility, increasing use of high analysis fertilizers, crop protectants and tillage, populations of soil organisms are depleted. CSIRO research has found that 80 kg hectare of nitrogen fertilizer can reduce soil microbe populations by 25% and that high phosphorus inputs reduce the beneficial effects of mycorrhizae fungi. In addition, the use of high levels of fertilizers can reduce humus levels in your soil. For every 1 kilogram of excess nitrogen applied, 100 kg of soil humus is destroyed. Natural factors including hot and dry weather, cold conditions, and excessive rain can also contribute to depleted microbe populations. How to protect, nourish, and stimulate your soil's microorganisms. Soil fertility is dependent on microbes, and the best way to replenish microbes in your soil is to stimulate and support the diverse range of naturally occurring microbes that are already present. The key to farming microbes is to provide a balanced environment for their functions and survival. Minerals, mulch, moistures, and air are the essential ingredients in your soil to enable these microbes to thrive. Minerals. Decades of intensive farming is gradually exhausting mineral elements available in the soil. Incorporating a broad spectrum mineral and trace element fertilizers and soil conditioners into your soil management program can help restore the mineral balance in the soil. Soil remineralization is a key factor to restore natural fertility to your soil. Mulch. Mulch provides a home for soil organisms. It is converted in the carbon functions of humus by soil microbes. A green manure can provide the best supply. However, plants' roots and stubble also provide a valuable source of mulch. Moisture. When confronted with hostile conditions such as a lack of moisture or toxic condition, microorganisms such as bacteria retreat to a spore form, a type of hibernation. A worm activity has a similar hibernation habit. Air. The level of soil aeration and changes to aeration can greatly impact the species of populations of the microbial community. Although some microorganisms can survive in flooded or compacted soils, Most require a substantial supply of oxygen.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to our last speaker, Ms. Pierre Moran Gamboa, a CAS graduate from DSSC Siloop, Davao del Sur. Good morning, ma'am.
Soil testing. Undertaking a soil test every 2 to 4 years or after an unusual event such as drought or flooding can identify underlying nutritional issues, provide insight into your soil health, along with a good indication of actions required to address imbalances or deficiencies. A soil test also provides a reference point to measure soil regeneration progress. Nature mean the key to soil fertility. Soil fertility is dependent on microbes, and the best way to replenish microbes in your soil is to stimulate and support the diverse range of naturally occurring microbes that are already there. Nature mean contains an array of broad spectrum of mineral and trace elements and contains a specifically formulated biostimulant to enhance both microbiome and worm activity in your soil. When used in a soil management program that also address additionally factors such as organic matter and aerations, NatureMint can assist in creating this environment for increased biological fertility in your soil. The soil microbes increase nutrient availability for the plant. Our focus is to outback on our chemical use, and when we have to use something that is detrimental to soil health, we apply things like humic or fulvic acid and products like NatureMint to offset the impact on the good guys in the soil. We are more comfortable farming this way. Our soil is our biggest asset, and soil health in agriculture has declined. So we are working with nature as much as we can turn it around. According to Geoff Brown, currently NSW.
Thank you, Ms. Gamboa, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, Sustainable Agriculture and Soil Microbiome. If you have any other questions, please contact message us on our Gmail that is provided on the chat box. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation, and we would appreciate if you would complete that and provide your feedback. Thank you and have a nice day, everyone.